Wow, when it comes to technical difficulties, man. So, how are you guys doing today? You are live here on Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca Gracia. We are having some technical difficulties. I think someone is messing with us. Anyhow, I have a guest with me tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America. And it is Joe from Collin County. He's out here in Texas. So we're going to be talking about some election integrity, I guess initiatives that have been going on in the state of Texas. And I met Joe at an event in Dallas last week. And Joe was telling me about he's just an American. He's just not looking to get paid. He's not looking to do anything, but just he felt like he needed to get involved. And this is exactly the kind of people we need on the ground. He started canvassing his area of town where he lives. And I was inspired by him because it's the kind of people that we really need, to be taking initiatives in their own backyard, doing the work. And so I want to welcome my guest here tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca Gracia, known as La Conservadora Tejana. My goodness, it's the end of the day, guys. Bear with me, the end of the day. But let me add Joe here. Joe, welcome to our Stand Up, Stand Out America. Thank you for joining us, even in the midst of some technical difficulties on my end. Wouldn't you know it, someone doesn't want my voice being heard, is what I'm thinking. And so all of a sudden, my gadgets are not working, my camera's not working, my microphone's not working. It's like really, really strange. But here we are. I was like, well, there's a way, there's a will. And you know what? Beautiful. Joe, I do see that you are on mute, but if you can unmute yourself,
can you hear me
Joe,
now?
Welcome to Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca Gracia here. I wanted to talk to you because I met you at the election integrity event that was held in Dallas, Texas, and you really inspired me because you were telling me about how you became involved and the things that you're doing in your county out of the just goodness of your heart, because you really felt that something needed to be done. And it's Americans like you that I want to showcase and talk to and inspire other people. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself first. Let's tell the audience who you are and what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, I'm a retired detective with the New York City Police Department. I did 21 and a half years with them. I specialized in diplomatic security and executive protection. I covered, we were broken up in geographical areas of the world, and I covered Russia, Indonesia, some African states, Brazil, Argentina. And whenever those heads of states or their people would come into New York City, I would work with Secret Service, State Department to provide protection for them. I've also done this privately, and I've done this for the State Department in Iraq. I served 2 years over there as a contractor, providing security. And I also served a year in Bosnia with the UN training the local Bosnian police to so-called internationally accepted standards of policing. Which don't really exist, but that never stopped the UN. So, but in any case, I moved to Texas when I came home from Iraq a couple of years after coming home. The schools in New York were not able to give my very bright young lady the education that she needed, and because New York spends all the money on the kids with problems. And I got nothing against that, but when you forget about the bright kids, you're just dragging everything down. And so we said that dog doesn't hunt. We came to Texas. Within 30 days, she was gifted and talented. Now she's graduating with an associate's degree from high school and starting at Texas A&M in astronomy. So, but in the meantime, 2020 happened, and I was really upset. Something just didn't smell right to me. I got tired of throwing things at the TV. It got a little expensive after a while. And so a former colleague of mine, in fact, my sergeant from the intelligence division, said, "Hey, there's a group in Florida that's putting on these training courses for organizing." And so I got into the 5-day course given by Defend Our Union. And in the process of that, discovered what a precinct chair was. I didn't know what a precinct chair was before that. So they sponsored me to take their advanced courses because they were impressed with how much I got involved in there, I guess. And so I took advantage of it. And right after I got done with the course, I went down to the local Collin County GOP office, and I spoke to the executive director there, and I said, I want the chair in my precinct. It's open, and I'm itching to do something, anything, whatever I can do. And so within a month, I became a precinct chair. My first issue, which was really hot at the time, of course, I'm talking about back in June and July of last year.
I just want to say, Joe,
yes.
Hold on. I just want to say, I'm very impressed with your background. I'm just very impressed, like that you've really taken the initiative. I'm like, wow. I just wanted to say that. I'm just very impressed. I mean, you told me what you were doing on the election integrity side, but I don't think we really got into all of your background. I mean, you might have told me a little bit, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I just applaud you for doing what you're doing.
It was a great job. I loved it. But the best time of my life on that job was my first 3 years on patrol. There is nothing that compares with having that little old lady come out to you and tell you, "Thank God that you're here because I can go shopping today." I worked in Washington Heights. It was one of the highest crime rate areas in New York City. We had the highest homicide rate for the little precinct that we were. We suffered 120 every year regularly because of the crack epidemic at the time. But yeah, I love law enforcement. Unfortunately, I can't do it anymore. I broke my back, and that was the end of that. But getting back to how I got into all of this, when I went down to the border, which was the hot button issue at the time that I became a chair, I met a couple of candidates, and they asked if they could come with me. And I said, sure, and I thought this is a good opportunity. We're 9.5 hours in a car. I can get to learn what these guys are all about and see if I want to support them or if I want to push them in my precinct. And that's what we did. We went down to the border. We met up with Anthony Aguero, Border Network News, with Sheena Rodriguez. She hooked us up with Anthony. And
both those, just so that you know, and I'm sure you know, both of those are involved in our organization. They've actually been involved with Latinos for Trump, Latinos for America First. Anthony's been with us for a very long time. I mean, he does his Border Network News, but he's very involved with our organization, and so is Sheena. Very, they're just awesome and amazing patriots who go out there and do their.
I was really impressed with Sheena and the people that she was working with. In fact, I had an event with Victor Avila.
Yep,
and Sheriff Skinner.
He's one of our advisors, Joe. He's one of our advisors.
There you go. So I had an event with them, and I was just blown away. These were stay-at-home school homeschooling moms that just doing this, going down to the border. I mean, week after week. That's no joke, man. That's a 9.5-hour drive one way. And the dedication, the heart, that just really spoke to me. I was really, really touched by that. So, I tried working with them, but what happened was, well, first I got an education on the Republican Party that shocked me through that process. And I soon realized the real problem that we're facing right now, technically, the real technical problem is voter fraud. It's our elections. And it doesn't matter if it's the border. It doesn't matter if it's anything and everything that we do, school boards, whatever we do. If we don't get the vote Correct. If we don't get a free and fair election where every person's vote counts legitimately, we don't have anything. So my focus has since shifted to that. And I'm throwing everything I have at it. I did a pilot canvas in Plano, Central Plano. I partnered with Defend Florida, who extraordinary group. They have an extraordinary election integrity team. And Defend Florida helped train us to do what we're now doing. And we used that to do a little canvas, a pilot canvas in Plano to get up to speed on the system.
Is that Raj? Is that Raj's team? Defend Florida?
Defend Florida is Raj Durasamy, Carol Worthington, and I forget his last name, but we call him Ninja Mike. So,
Ninja Mike, yes. I know them.
He's our tech guy.
Hardworking patriots, and really came up with a very good model on how to canvas. Yes,
exactly. So I hooked up with them, and they took our voter rolls and selected 50 candidates from there that had not been engaged in 8 years, but had voted in the 2020 general and in the latest primary. And out of those 50 houses, we got a 37% anomaly rate. People that had opened those, in other words, people that had answered the door were not the people that voted, and they had lived there for years. 37% is colossal. It's, you hear about 6 or 7%, you think it's big. 37% is. And now it's a very specific group. Sorry.
Right. So let me ask you, because I'm going to ask you about that. But let me ask you, when you got those 50 people, did you yourself go out and knock on their doors?
Yeah, definitely. It was 4 of us, and the 4 of us covered those 50 houses in like 4 hours. So we did it within a weekend. And we didn't keep the data. We didn't do anything with it because it wasn't the full-blown effort. It was just to get us used to the process. There were some things we learned that we could do better.
Right.
So now that we have that information, now we have that experience behind us. Now seeing that huge anomaly rate. Now it's a very specific group because you're looking at a very specific part of the electorate. And now what we're going to do is go and take this to a more general area. So it remains to be seen how many issues we come up with.
So Joe, let me ask you this. Can you say what it is that you said? You said there was something particular about this group. Can you talk about it, or is that something you don't want?
The group that was selected, they're very specific. That there were people that were not engaged previously, at least from the voter records. It seemed that they for the last 8 years, they didn't vote. And now all of a sudden in 2020, they voted.
So what happens is they target they go through the voter rolls and see who has not come out, and they feel like what now did it show that they voted by mail? Did they show it voted in person, or
no? These were all people that voted in person.
They voted
according
in
to the
person,
records.
and then they claimed that they didn't vote, and they hadn't shown up in 8 years.
Well,
so
no.
Someone voted for them?
From the records, from the voter rolls, it was the people that said that on the voter records that they didn't vote in 8 years, but did vote in the 2020 and in the primary. So what we were doing was going knocking on those doors and verifying that information. And 37% of the time, the person that lived at that house was not the person that voted.
But that's what I'm saying. So someone voted in person for them. Because it wasn't a mail-in ballot.
So it would seem, yes. And interestingly, most of them, a lot of the houses were rentals. So the person that voted was the owner of the house. Now the question remains, did the owner vote twice? Does he live in another state? These are questions that have to be answered. And this is what we're in the process of doing now for the regular canvass, for the full canvass. So now we're getting more into a deep dive of how to do this. defenders helping train our people to do that. We've formed a group that we refer to as the Texas Tracers. And I'm only needing 3 people or so to keep those voter rolls cleared, as we call it. But I'm grabbing a lot more volunteers, and I'm grabbing them because I want to export this to other counties. And I
So
want
as
them to
you,
stand up and train, and
yes,
them
so
to
as
train
you
other
know,
counties. So,
yes. And as you know, Joe, the America Project, in which I work for now, you know, we are working on a election integrity project. And we were talking about that when I met you, and you met, you know, 2 of the girls that are now hired leading the state of Texas. And that's what we are, you know, I know that they are working on this Operation Eagle Wings. They are working on getting those volunteers. And so I know you were excited to
yes,
collaborate efforts, and so that we could, you know, we meet someone and they happen to be in your county, we send them to you. If you meet somebody that's in our counties, then you send them to us, and we make sure,
absolutely.
because you'd be surprised that you think that you know everyone in your county, but you kind of don't. And so you just don't really know. And the more that we kind of can talk to each other and communicate and say, hey, I met someone in and around your area, connect with them, because we're going to need those volunteers. So if anybody, when you're watching this podcast, the point of me bringing Joe on was because I wanted you to know that he's in the Dallas area. I'm in the Houston area. Maria Miller is the state director, and she's concentrated on Harris County. And then Melinda, who was hired in Tarrant County, is focusing on the Dallas area. So between you, me, and them, Joe, we are going to have to work together diligently to help each other out, to make sure that this initiative and project, and that we clean up these voter rolls, and that we do the things that need to be done. Now, here's the really important thing that I want to highlight, that excites me, because, you know, a lot of the times, you know, these Democrats, you know, they talk about that, you know, if, you know, this asking for a voter ID is voter suppression, is, you know, that, you know, the Hispanics are going to be disengaged. We don't know how to get to a computer. We don't know how to vote. You know, we're going to be disenfranchised. And so what excites me is that this project, working for the America Project, Joe, and you working, I mean, you're doing this on your own. We're not affiliated with any party. And here you have 4 Latinos in Texas, Maria Salinas Miller, you know, you're going to have Melinda, myself, you. We're 4 Latinos in the state of Texas at the forefront of election integrity. And you go, and we're not in the party system. Although you are precinct chair, I was a precinct chair, you know, I am a conservative. But yet here we have taken on these roles in a nonprofit because we understand the importance of, let's put our parties aside, let's put our things aside. We know that there is a problem with the voting system in the United States and in Texas. We know this. So Democrats can no longer say, oh, if you ask for a voter ID, you're suppressing our vote. You wouldn't have 4 Latinos here at the forefront on election integrity, and I'm sure there's plenty more.
Right, worried about it. Yep.
That we're at the forefront going, we're taking charge here because we know something's wrong. And you're going to talk about voter suppression. You know, look, I've always said this, Joe, and I don't know. I mean, you're come down from New York, but now you're in Texas. You know, and I've always said this, being from South Texas, and I grew up in the coastal bend, you know, so, you know, my dad used to love to go fishing. My uncles, you know, hunted, fishing. They loved it. You know, that's what they did. Well, you know that in the state of Texas, yeah, there you go. You know, in the state of Texas, that in order for you to hunt or fish, maybe not hunting, but, well, yeah, hunting. No, you have to have, like, in the hunting world, they only allow you like so many animals a year or whatever. It's regulated,
Right.
sort of, right?
There's rules,
And
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And there's rules. And then in fishing, you have to get a license to go fishing, right? And so
Correct.
I'm like, okay, well, does that mean that, Hispanics can't figure out a way to go vote, but they can go fish and they can go hunt, but we
It's
can't vote.
insulting.
It's
Yeah,
very
it's
insulting.
insulting that they're trying to say that we're not intelligent enough to figure this out. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, come on, it's
Exactly.
really they've blown everything they had.
Yes.
They don't have any more ideas. They don't have any more. So everything is divisive. It's all about race. It's all about,
Racism,
yeah,
domestic terrorists, Nazi,
identity
white
politics.
supremacists. They don't know what else to do. And
Nope.
as you see, the numbers and the polling is suggesting that there's an exodus of Latinos leaving the Democrat Party, the Hispanics, the Mexican American. I don't care what you want to call us. We are of Spanish descent, and the people are leaving exiting the Democrat Party because it's just nonsense. It is insulting. It's degrading. That is degrading. To me, that is voter suppression, because you are
Yes.
saying that I am so dumb I can't figure out how to go vote, and because I have to go get an ID, that's voter suppression. So,
Right.
I'm reading Jennifer Benavides says Rhino Abbott doesn't want audits. You're exactly right. I'm one of the biggest persons that's speaking up against Abbott, because I don't feel that he has done very good for our state. I feel I'm
Oh
very
no.
embarrassed as a Texan right now when you have DeSantis in Florida leading the way he's leading, not putting up with anything, like literally nothing. And it's not for show. He literally is doing it. It's not like Abbott that says, oh, I'm building a wall and I'm going to do this. And then you go and it's like a little chain link fence. And then he put the freight boxes up that have like, you can walk through the freight boxes. There's no it's no
And he
wall.
put those old broken down Humvees in
Yeah,
between them to look
yeah.
like there's guardsmen there, but they're empty. And it's a joke because you can see it from the other side of the river. There's
And
nobody
they
in those
know.
stupid things.
No, and they know, the cartel knows there's no one in there. Like, you
Right.
clearly, if you've got people surveillancing from the other side, there's no movement there. They know they can come and go. It is a joke. It's insulting. It's bad. And I am hearing through grapevine that there is going to be an audit in Tarrant County. Well, in Tarrant County, this is what I heard. Tarrant County was, oh yeah, well, no problem. We're going to hand over machines. We're going to work with y'all, to do the audit. But now when it really gets down to it and we're asking for information, and I say we, not me, but we out there, the people that are doing this, right, leading the charge
Right.
on these audits, I've heard from them that all of a sudden they're having to go to court because Tarrant County all of a sudden is, oh, wait a minute. Well, now they're like trying to walk themselves back because they were trying to pretend that they wanted an audit. They would comply with an audit. Now, when it comes down to it, they really don't. They want an audit, And so, I don't know if Melinda actually found on TikTok. She had shared. She's over Tarrant County now. She shared this TikTok video of the Tarrant County election administrator. Okay, she found a TikTok video, Joe, and this guy who works in Tarrant County right now, as the election administrator, he was in the Philippines. He ran the elections for Smartmatic. Ding ding, Smartmatic connected to Dominion. He ran the election. He was working for them. He was getting his butt chewed out because of all of the discrepancies, and just because he gave all the legislators in the Philippines their word that this machine was going to take care of everything and they'd be able to see in real time. Yet he delivered none of it, and he was getting his butt chewed out. And then we come to find out that he's a Venezuelan who was in charge of running the elections in Venezuela. Oh my, he left Venezuela. They moved him to the Philippines. Well, guess what, Joe? If he wasn't good enough for Venezuela and he wasn't good enough for Philippines, by gosh darn it, state of Texas, Tarrant County, let's go ahead, and we check no references here. Let's go ahead and bring this guy in to run our elections after he's, been part of the ruin of Venezuela, ruined the Philippines, and now you bring him to Texas. And Abbott
Yep.
is okay with this, and all of our Republican leadership is okay with this, and Dan Patrick, zip, Abbott, zip, Secretary of State, zip, Attorney
Listen,
General, zip.
this is my personal opinion. I think the problem is we've gone away from being that bottom up, we the people organization that we're supposed to be politically. Regardless of which side you're on, it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be we the people
Mm-hmm.
through the precinct chairs, through our local representatives, telling us this is what our wishes are. And we've gone away from that, and it's turned into a top-down, empirical type of setup, where whoever controls the purse strings for campaign financing is who runs the party. I'm seeing a situation now, and we see it everywhere. And I'm just going to call it out. I don't care if anybody gets embarrassed or whatever by it, but it's down to the county level where our county chairs are blocking people from getting precinct chairs because they don't want them to fill those chairs with people that might question them. That's disgusting. You can't have that.
Did you know that that's somewhat happening here in Harris County? I heard.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a lady, and there's two parts to this because I want you to hear this because this is going to really energize you, I think. I was talking to a woman, Elizabeth Brandon, who does canvassing in Travis County. She works with Paul Parker. She's been trying to get a precinct chair for 6 months. The chair in her county is open, and her precinct is open. There's nobody contesting it, and yet she can't get it. There's something wrong with that picture. But on the other side, her and Paul and some other people, I've been talking to Denton, I've been talking to Tarrant, people in Tarrant, and we're all of the same mind, and we should all get together and standardize the way that we do canvassing throughout the entire state of Texas so that when we compare notes, it's apples to apples, and we know what we're talking about.
Yes.
That also presents us with another opportunity. Since we're getting all these counties together, and these are all the main populated counties, that presents us with the opportunity to unite. And what I'd like to see is us to get all these grassroots people behind us, all our foot soldiers to go do the canvassing for us, put us all under one roof. And when we go knock on one of those legislators' door, one of the very few precious legislators that actually want to do their job but are afraid to because the Abbott control system is keeping them down, we can go up to them and we tell them, listen, do not go gently into that good night because we got your back, buddy. So go do what you got to do. And do me a favor, take that knucklehead next to you that's not doing his job, tell him there's a train coming and he either gets on board or we're going to run over him.
That's your call to action. I love it because I think that's what we need to do. So Sheena, that's Sheena's passion. She loves to go to, Texas legislators. She likes to go and knock on their doors. She likes to go hand them the letters. She likes to go be a voice. She likes to go testify. And, we're all so stretched, right? Everybody's like in all different directions. But I want to make sure that if there's anybody out there and you're listening, you can reach out to our organization, whether it's Latinos for America First.com, or you can go to LatinoTrumpCoalition.org. You can come to the AmericaProject.com. There's many, many places. You can go to Secure the Border, which is also Sheena's other, entity. And these are pretty much pages I'm giving you that you can send us a message. Send us a message on one of these, streams here. Let us know that you're interested. If you are in Tarrant County, Harris County, if you are interested in when, there's hearings, you're interested in taking or participating and going down to Austin and testifying, as Joe says, the more that we show up in numbers, we've got to really organize. The more that we show up in numbers and go down there, that sends, we start, rattling the cages basically and letting them know that we're not going to go away. And let
me, if I could just jump in there real quick, because this is what motivated me. This is what inspired me was the people in Florida. Defend Florida started with 5 people that had dinner one night and said, our country is falling apart. What are we going to do about it? That 5 in 2 weeks turned into 200. In 2 months, they were 2,000. Today, they're over 30,000 members. And when they go knock on a legislator's door, they get that door opened. Nobody shuts the
Yes,
door on them. The last 22 legislative acts that the governor signed into law in Florida were a direct result of the efforts of Defend Florida. And it's because they were able to mobilize everybody together and put them all in one direction and say, hey, listen, we're the people. You work for us. We don't work for you.
that's
We're
right.
going to do what we want you to do. And now they run the legislative agenda. And that's the way it should be. It's supposed to be that way. We don't
Correct.
have that in Texas, and it's by design. They want to keep us separated. They don't want us organizing.
Right.
So, because if they do, we will. If we become organized, we're going to make Abbott's control of the purse strings irrelevant. And once that happens,
Exactly.
things change. We get rid of Dade Phelan. I mean, that guy's horrible. There's no
Oh,
reason why we should have
listen, they're
a
all
Democrat.
horrible. The
Yeah.
last three Speaker of the Houses here in Texas have all been horrible. They're all bought and paid
Yes.
for. They, this is what I've learned, Joe, in this whole 2020, the whole aftermath of 2020. Okay, it was not just that there was issues in the election process, was that the rude awakening for me. See, I left the Democrat Party about 15 years ago. Okay, left the Democrat Party and started voting Republican because of the policies and the principles, and I thought they were the better party. I've come to find out they're really not. They're not the better party either. Okay, now we have some very good conservatives. We have some very good constitutional conservatives in the party. But what I've learned is there is an elitist system, and it's the Democrat and the Republican elites. And they work together up here, and everybody else, we're
That's
a
right.
laughing stock. They're like, ha 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 ha. They love it because out in public, they act like they fight with each other. Oh, Republicans. Oh, Beto, 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 Abbott, Abbott, Abbott. But really, behind the closed doors, they're together at functions, at the nice little elite functions. And they are, rules for thee, but not for me. And this is what's been happening. That was my rude awakening from 2020, Joe. And it's got to stop. And we have got to somehow infiltrate, destroy that whole, it's like I feel like I'm in Star Wars, right? Or either the Star Trek, right? And it's like the mothership. And we have to like go in, like we're all like little Jedis, and we're like trying to train, and and there's like little battles, and we're like, Empire Strike Back, This is what I feel that we're at. I don't know what other analogy, another actually analogy is if you've ever watched what is that movie? Mockingbird. Is it Mockingbird? The girl, she goes in with a districts. She goes and she does a sign, the 2 sign, or what, District 2, whatever.
Okay.
There's like
a trilogy. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You know how that's what I feel Washington, D.C. is. Okay. It's like all of the elites, Republican and Democrat, and then we're all the districts, and we have to fight with each other. And that's what they've done. They've literally separated us into districts, is what they've done. And
well, Bianca, if you want to understand what is happening now in real detail, and you want to see it clear as a bell, I recommend that everybody go out and get a copy of Unrestricted Warfare. This is a doctrine created by 2 Chinese, I believe the lieutenant colonels. One's from the Air Force, and I think the other one's from the Army or Navy. But it views competition with the world as warfare. Every aspect of it, from finance to business to everything. Everything is a battlefield, and in a very Sun Tzu type way. If you've had to fire a shot, you lost. And that's exactly what's happening with us here. And nothing illustrates what you're just talking about now, about our own party being the biggest impediment to us. than the border. Because the border is a flagrant, I mean, look at what's happening. This is insanity.
Mm-hmm.
We are killing ourselves. And yet here is a supposed conservative Republican, Greg Abbott, saying, oh, no, yeah, his strategy is it's Joe's fault. It's Joe's fault. Well, Joe's fault isn't a strategy. That's not going to solve the problem. He's had so many tools, and he still has them under his, in his wheelhouse, and he doesn't use them. He could block every legal border crossing point with effectively block it with the DPS by stopping every commercial vehicle and giving them a safety check. Okay. What will that do? That'll slow down commerce with Mexico. Mexico is going to then come to the table and negotiate. What did Trump do? Trump said, oh, you don't want to help us? Okay. He shut the border. The next day, the Mexican president sent 35,000 troops to help. Oh, how can we help you? Why? Because you squeezed their wallet. Yeah. And that's what needed to be done. Abbott doesn't do that. Another thing, COVID. Every bus that was coming over here, maybe 100 people on that bus, there's a DPS regulation that says that if you're transporting a virus without a hazmat rating, that's an $85,000 fine per incident. So if you've got 40 people with COVID on that bus, $85,000 times 40, that's $3,400,000 fine for that one bus. That puts the bus company out of business. Abbott doesn't do it. He's known this since day one. When Joe Biden got inaugurated, he got up and said, I'm reversing all of Trump's immigration policies, and I'm ordering the Census Bureau to count these people. What is he saying when he does that? He's saying, I'm changing districting. These people are going to be our votes. Yeah. And look at where they've been sending them. And Sheena will verify this. Sheena knows this better than anybody else. And you know this as well. When you go down to the border, you see all those little pieces of paper littered around with little phone numbers on them for Seattle, Miami, New York. Also, a lot of these things are in sanctuary cities. Yep. And where are they sending these people? They fly them in nondescript military aircraft, white, no markings on them, flying into Republic Airport in New York. They're getting their IDs. They're getting their driver's licenses. They're not being asked if they're citizens or not, because New York, you can't ask. You can actually legally vote as an illegal citizen, an illegal immigrant in New York in local elections, which is unconstitutional as all get out. But so then what are they going to do? Get those licenses. They're going to come back here, establish residency, and then vote. Yep. And they're going to get paid to do that.
That's what they're doing. They're destroying America. Not only from the inside, they're destroying it from the outside to the inside. And look what they're talking about right now. This whole thing with the WHO. Biden is supposed to, like, May 24th is supposed to be a big, big day. So all these distractions, Joe, everything is to literally destroy the United States of America.
Who runs the WHO? China. China runs it. So what is he doing by now with these amendments? There are already rules in there, but what these amendments allow them to do is dictate to us actions here. So if they want to have a lockdown, they can now dictate a lockdown in the United States. We've lost our sovereignty. Yep. We are now part of China. Yep. And that's what that is. And you know what's the saddest thing is that 90%, 80% of Americans don't even know this is happening. I think really a lot of people don't want to know, but you better wake up.
They don't want to know, or they just don't know because they're just too busy. They're still not paying attention. We've been able, I feel like out of 100%, you had like that 3% that was always voting. Those are the people that were active. It was the same little circle of people that were, and then 2018, 2020 happened. And then now that 3% became a 10%, maybe now. And then the whole election was stolen. Now that after 2020, it's become like a 20%. So the 3% engaged is now grown to 20%, but there's still like 80% of the people out there that still have no clue what the heck is going on.
And a big part of that is because the media has been controlled. Exactly. The media is controlled.
That's
completely.
why they don't know what's happening. You can literally still go to small communities that are just being same pushed CNN over and over and over. They don't have a choice of Fox News. They literally have control, and they are still continuously brainwashing these people. So they think everything's okay. I'm like, how do you think everything's okay? Gas is $4 and something, $5, $7 in some states. Meat is more expensive. Milk is more expensive. I was just talking to my cleaning lady, and I said, so how are you doing? And she says, well, we're just trying to make it. She says, it's just really hard times. And I said, it is, I'm sure,
Yep.
isn't it? And I said, I mean, I know you're not politically involved. I said, but, you really need to tell your sisters and all of your family that the man with the yellow hair that was mean wasn't so mean after all. And she said, Bianca, there's no baby formula. And I said, oh my, there's no baby formula, but an
Oh,
abortion
there is
center is
baby
open.
formula for if you're coming across the border or if you live in the Ukraine. There's plenty of baby
Correct.
formula for them.
No, but not in the United States. No, they shipped
Right.
it all over there. That's what they did. And I said, yeah, but there's an abortion clinic open if you want an abortion. And she's like, because she's Mexican. She's like, we don't believe in that. And I said, exactly. I said,
Yeah.
and how are the gas prices? And she goes, they're horrible. And I said, how about your milk? She goes, oh my gosh. She goes, my little twins. And she goes, she goes, Bianca, the milk is like doubled. And I said, yeah. And I said, I said, why is it? And I told her, I said, why do you think that when Democrats are in charge, the economy is horrible? And she goes, we know now. And I said, yeah, now. I said, y'all kind of just stayed out of it because, we don't really get involved in politics and we don't really vote, and my family, we're from Mexico. We just don't get involved. We just go to work. We mind our business, but now you're feeling it. You felt it under Obama. It got a little bit better under Trump. And now it's even worse under Biden. So, and I said, what does that tell you? Does that tell you anything? And she says, yes. And she says, we're definitely going to have to vote and be more involved. I said, yes, you're going to have to be very active. And you're going to have to tell all of your neighbors that if they can vote, if they're legally here, I was like, you need to tell them they need to register to vote and they need to vote. And she's like, she goes, yes. She goes, it's horrible. She goes, Bianca, I don't even know how we're going to make it. And I said, well, and I said, she said, she goes, we feel like we're working twice as hard and we just still can't get ahead. And she goes,
and we
and
never
how,
will.
she said, and it just deteriorated in a year. She goes, it was so fast. She goes, we can't even believe what we're seeing in front of our eyes.
Because we're being systematically dismantled as a country. If anybody thinks that, everybody's, oh, the Ukraine, we need to help those poor people in the Ukraine is nothing about state sovereignty. I'm sorry. What it is about dismantling the U.S. from the world economy. Russia, since 2014, has been hoarding gold. They knew what was coming when they did this. So
Yes.
Joe Biden, with all his, sanctions, Russia was prepared for that. The sanctions affected them for one day. After that, everything started going right back up for them. And now, if you want to buy anything in Russia, you're paying in rubles. So the ruble is climbing. And one more thing, that the $40 billion aid package that they just approved for supposedly for the Ukraine, well, $40 billion is going to last about 3 weeks in the Ukraine. So in another 3 weeks, they're going to come up with another 40 billion. And what's happening in the process? Every time you print $40 billion, you drop the value of the dollar. It's a systematic effort to bring the dollar down, and it's working. It's coming apart. And this is a direct result of the Chinese efforts working with the globalists who think they're going to have a field day with the Chinese when all this is over, that they're going to be in charge of the world. They're in for a big, big surprise because, as George Soros already found out, when he got in bed with the Chinese, he rediscovered, oh, wait a minute. They're going to take over. I'm not going to have any say. When they dangle those 1.4 billion people that they have in their country as potential customers, and you think that you're going to do business there, the first thing they do is they put a CCP member in your business, in your company. And then they figure out how you do everything, because they demand that you give
Yeah.
them access to everything you do. And once they figure out how you do it, they
Yeah.
build their own companies to do it, and then they kick you out.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
so all these people that think, the Bezos and all these people that think that they're going to get in bed with the Chinese and take over the world, they're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well,
this is
my
what's happening to the
pastor.
country. People need to wake up.
Yeah.
People need to vote. You need to break those algorithms. You need to
Yep.
just blast past them. Do not give up. Everybody has to get out to vote. They
That's
have to
right.
break those algorithms.
You're exactly right. And Joe, my pastor, I attend Voice of Healing. That's where I go to church. And my pastor this past Sunday played, that was how he started service, is he played Tucker, a clip from Tucker talking about what was happening, and then he played the Russian news. Now, of course, we don't understand Russia, but there was the translation at the bottom. And he said, I want y'all to see this. This is Russian news, and this is what the Russian news is reporting on a daily basis. Well, Joe, guess what they are doing on a daily basis? They're telling their people in Russia to prepare for nuclear war. They're literally telling them that they have some nuclear bomb they want to drop on, what is it, Great Britain or something? And it will pretty much obliterate the whole Great Britain, where it'll not have any form of life ever again. And then they have they were showing some missile that they send through the water. And they were showing, their news is literally showing their people, this is what the capabilities we have, and we're fixing to use them. And they're basically telling their people, get ready for the nuclear war. And I'm going, and why is it that our news stations aren't talking about this? Why are they not saying this? Why are
Because they're
they
told
not?
not to. They're owned by the very people that are in bed with the Chinese. They're owned, and the Chinese are helping the Russians too. The Russians are kind of playing a crafty game, because they're not really down with what the globalists want either. You can see they kicked out George Soros quick, man,
Yes,
like a bad
yes,
habit. They said, no, we're not having that. We're not
yes,
having the LBGTQRSTUV thing here. No, get out of here. We're done with that. So
right.
they kicked them out, but they know that they're not really strong enough to deal with China, so they got to be careful there. But they're helping them take us down and building themselves up. So
Yes,
they're rattling their cages now, and you expect that from them, kind of. But the real thing that we as Americans have to understand is that there is a concerted operation going on right now that is dismantling us piece by piece, nut by nut, bolt by bolt. And it is a plan that is being carried out. BLM, Antifa, all these groups on the left, those are all their useful idiot foot soldiers. They think they're believing in all this crap. But when you look at the leadership, look at the BLM. Where would they said they were trained communists? Where were they? Who trained them? The Chinese trained them. They go back to the groups that go back to San Francisco in the 1960s. So
yes,
this has been a long planned, a long thing that's been long in the planning and is now being implemented. And all our government people, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, all these people, they're all beholden to the Chinese. They all do business with the Chinese. So they act like, oh, we're Republicans and we're
yeah,
conservatives. And guess what? Who's a member of the World Economic Order? Greg Abbott,
yeah.
Klaus
He goes
Schwab,
to
the guy that
Davos.
wants to,
He goes to
yeah,
Davos all the time. He's always in Davos. Yeah,
right.
he goes to Davos. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, does nobody make the connections here? That's what's even worse. So, I'm reading, Mary Yates, you're saying it's right in our face. You're exactly right. She says she agrees with both of us. Mary Yates, a big shout out to you. Danielle says, what can we do to expose them? Well, we have to go around the mainstream media and do such things like this is, the podcast where we're talking about these things, and you have to talk to your neighbors and your friends and show them what is happening and get the research.
It's old school. We got to talk to each other.
Yeah.
We got to inform each other.
Exactly. We have to almost pass notes like we used to when we were in grade school. Remember, we used to write little notes and we used to pass them. That's what we're back to that now. Yeah. But that's what we have to do. And we have to get involved. You have to get active. You have to be involved in your community. You have to find your local, whatever, if there's a chapter of a, an issue, if there's an issue that you're concerned, whether it's life, whether it's taxes, whether it's, family, religious liberty, whether it's election integrity, parental rights, medical freedoms, whatever it is, there is a group out there for you. There's lots of organizations. There's lots of groups. Make sure you're getting involved with the right one and not with the left one. And, you certainly can, like I said, reach out to Secure the Border, Sheena Rodriguez. You can certainly reach out to Latinos for America First, Latinos for Trump, America Project. We are, there's so many organizations, like I said, out there. And, if you want to get involved with your local GOPs, listen, we've got to infiltrate those local GOPs. We've got to get in as precinct chairs. You've got to become, empowered. And what I've said is what I think we're going to have to start doing is when we start filling in the precinct chairs, we're going to have to keep our mouth shut. We have to do like this operation. We can't let them see them. We can't let the GOP know that we're coming. We can't let them know that we're infiltrating and that we're taking over. We just have to act like, oh, I'm here to help you, and do like, yes. Okay. What do you need me to do? And then just keep your mouth shut. Deep down inside, you're going to be boiling up. But when it's time and we have all these precinct chairs, pretty much filled up across the country, then we go activate and boom, we vote them all out. That's what we need to do. We need to strategically.
That's right. And this effort that we've got going here with the canvassing and the audits and everything that we're trying to get done, I think this presents us with an excellent opportunity to do just that, to get us all organized. And like your call to action there, I would also tell everyone, go grab a chair, go to a grassroots organization, your 2A, your whatever, exactly like you said, do something. Whatever little piece it is, however small it is, whatever it is, do something and vote. That's how we're going to get things done. And don't think that, listen, I didn't know a damn thing about politics. I wasn't political at all. Yeah, I covered a lot of politicians. I escorted them. I made sure they got from point A to point B without getting killed. That was my job. But I didn't care about what they did. I watched how they made the sausage. I was a bodyguard for a U.S. senator for 7.5 years. Mm-hmm. And I listened to the phone calls. I, went to the meetings. I would sat next to this guy all day long. And I watched how they made the sausage, and it was ugly. I wanted nothing to do with that. But now my country is being taken apart, and I can't sit idly by and wait. There was a time.
And neither should our viewers. No one should be sitting back, and they all need to be involved. And Danielle also makes a good point. She says you got to start calling your senators and your local elected officials. You got to start putting pressure on them every day. Start calling them. If you start blowing up their phones and asking them, hey, I called and reported this, did you do something about it? And then the next day you go, hey, I called and reported this, and did you do something about it? And write down who you talked to every single time. Hey, I talked to so-and-so yesterday. Did y'all do it? If you keep calling and it's like 10 people keep calling over and over, and then you get 20 people to keep calling over and over, they finally eventually say, well, crap, we better do something about it because these people won't, stop calling us. And that's kind of what you have to do. So, I know listen, Joe, we've had such a great conversation. We're at the end of our hour here.
Don't forget to pray. This is the one thing that got us where we are. We forgot that God is driving this bus. We threw him off the bus. Now the wheels have come off the bus. We're going down a cliff and we're going to fly off of it. We got to bring him back. And that's, I think that's number one above everything else. But with everything else that you do, pray.
Yes.
Because without him, we can't do anything. With him, we
No,
can do everything.
that is actually, you're exactly right. And, about that is that I didn't figure, you know what? I just didn't even realize I could do this. Look at that. Ta-da. I forgot to run my banner at the bottom. Anyhow, maybe next week I won't have technical difficulties. We're going to have to figure out what happened with that. Somebody didn't want me to talk. So, but Joe, you're exactly right. Listen, I thank y'all so much for tuning in to Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca Gracia here, interviewing Joe Cruz out of Collin County in the Dallas area, who's gotten involved. He's got a great call to action. Guys, just get involved. And if there's some of you on the thread, that you guys are saying you guys have groups that you're involved with, people that you're already, there's a grassroots movement about election integrity or canvassing, start talking with each other, make friends with each other. Danielle, if you don't know somebody else on the podcast, and reach out to them and find out where they're at. Talk to each other, guys. We've got to start communicating with each other and working together. And that's how we're going to take back this country. We literally have this last election, 2022 is extremely important. You guys know that we're going to have to hold all of these elected officials accountable, even as soon as they get into office in 2022, in November. You're going to have to start pounding those phones and holding them accountable already, and tell them we voted you in and we expect results now. I don't want to see results in another year, and I don't want 2 years from
Amen.
now when it's time to get reelected. I want a result now. And that's what I think is going to change I think Madison Cawthorn said it best. If anybody's paid attention to Madison Cawthorn, he said the greatest thing, because he's kind of one of those like Marjorie Taylor Greene, he's out, Lauren Boebert, they're up against the whole establishment, right? And so he said the best thing for me is this social media, because I can literally do a call of action and I can have people calling on the phones to all the elected officials, blowing up their phones. And he said it's really become like one of his, what he uses. It's like, he says it's the best thing ever is how powerful social media has become, and his voice, how much, more he can get across. And he said, look, they've tried to take me down, but instead it's made me more popular. Same with MTG, she's the same way. The more that they try to come after her, the more popular she gets. So I'm like, if that's not a wake-up call to the establishment swamp creatures, I don't know what else is. But we're coming for you. And you know what? And it's in a peaceful way. We don't need any kind of violence. We just really don't. But we will fight. We will fight righteously, fight with a constitution, and fight with using the laws that they've already passed. That's the problem, is that a lot of laws are passed and they're not enforcing them. So, Joe, I thank you this Friday night joining me, Bianca Gracia, on Stand Up, Stand Up, Stand Up, Stand Out America. I just thank y'all so much. I want to wish y'all a very good weekend. Have a blessed weekend. And like Joe said, pray. Pray before you do everything and anything. Just pray. And visit americaproject.com. Send us a message, get involved. If you don't know how to get involved, like I said, look, Joe got with Defending Florida and they trained him up, and there is plenty of grassroots organizations out there. Raj is phenomenal at that. We've got, isn't it the CCDF, right?
Yes.
Steve Maxwell's organization. They're more focused on local, which is like, school boards and city councils, taking those back. So there is so many ways that you can get involved, but get involved. So Joe, thank you so much again for coming on. And guys, go check out Bryson Gray's new video, Ultra Mega. They did a collaboration with artists, and we're excited about that. Also, stay tuned on theamericaproject.com as our page gets launched. Our minority engagement page gets launched on there. We're going to have an event during state convention here in Texas. And Joe, we hope that you're out here at state convention June 17th. June 17th, we are having a Run to the Border event. And so we're going to start advertising for it. We definitely got some people that are coming in from all over to speak. It got some presenters, got some, definitely going to have, I'm trying to get Bryson Gray here. So I want to get some, performers as well and activists, and just have a meet and greet. We're going to have some heavy appetizers, cash bar. It's going to be a lot of fun on June 17th from 7 to 9 at the Rice Hotel at the Empire Room. So guys, just stay tuned, and we will see you next Friday. Next Friday, I will be with Steve Montenegro from the America Project. He will be joining me next week. But Joe, thank you so much for your efforts, and keep in touch. So
God bless you
thank
all.
y'all
Will
so much.
do.
Yeah, have a good night,
Bye-bye.
you guys. And remember, time is now. Start praying, and it's time to stand up and stand out, America. Thank you so much.